In this video, we're going to look at the time zone application that you'll create in tutorial 4-6 in your textbook. And in this application, you'll create a list box control on the form, and the list box will show the names of cities that the user can select from. When you're creating a list box, you typically populate the list box with items, and in this particular application the items are the names of cities. And the way that you do that is with the items property of the list box. So let's go through the steps of creating the list box control and adding the names of the cities. You'll find the list box control under the Common Controls section of the toolbox. You simply double-click the list box. Then you can reposition the list box. You can use the sizing handles to change the size of the list box, and so forth. We're going to rename the list box. It has a default name of list box 1, but we're going to change that to city list box, since it is going to hold the names of cities. And in order to populate the list box with those city names, we're just going to scroll down and we're going to locate the items property. And you'll see this button here. We click this button and it opens the string collection editor. So we just simply type in the names of the cities here and they will appear in the list box. So the first city is Denver, and when you're finished typing in the names of the cities, you click the OK button, and then you see them displayed here. And then you can resize the list box. And let's go ahead at this point and finish creating the form. So this is the completed form for the application, and the way that the application will work is that the user will select a city from the list box and then click the OK button, and the time zone, the name of the time zone for that city will appear here in this label control. So step 3 in the tutorial is where you start writing the code for the application, and you'll start with the click event handler for the OK button. I've already written all of the code for the application, so let's just switch over to the code editor and let's look at the code and make sure we understand what it does. So first, we have the declaration of a string variable named city that's going to hold the name of the city that the user selects. And then we have an if statement, an if-else statement, that in the conditional expression of the if statement, we're going to test the list box's selected index property. Now this is the index of the item that was selected in the list box. The first item in the list box has an index of 0, the second item has an index of 1, and so forth. So for example, if the user has selected Denver, remember that was the first that's the first item in the list box. If the user selects Denver, then the selected index property will be set to 0. Now, if the user has not selected an item in the list box, then the selected index property will be set to -1. And we're testing a condition here. If city list box dot selected index is not equal to -1. If that's true, we know that the user has selected a city. So then we will perform the statements here in the if section. The first thing that we will do is we will get the name of the city, and we'll get the selected item, and we'll do that by getting the list box's selected item property, and calling its toString method to convert that to a string. So this will store the name of the selected city in the city variable. And then we're simply going to have a switch statement that determines the name of the city and then displays the time zone. For example, if the city is Honolulu, then we will display the Hawaii Aleutian time zone in our time zone label. If San Francisco is the selected city, then we will display Pacific in the time zone label, and so forth. So the switch, this switch statement is what displays the name of the time zone. Now, in the case where the user has not selected an item from the list box, the program will jump to this else clause, and we simply display a message box with the message select a city. And that's all of the code for the OK button. Now in step 4, you're going to write the code for the exit button, which simply closes the form. And then in step 5, you are going to save the project and run the application. So let's do that now. So here's the application running. I'm going to select Denver and click OK. Honolulu. We'll just test each of these. And we should also test the case where we do not select an item from the list box. And in order to do that, I need to exit the application and start it over again, because you'll notice that when the application begins, we do not have a selected item. And if I just click the OK button here, then we get this message box telling me to select a city.